What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to bring you a quick overview and initial review of our new NAS. This is the Synology. This is the DS420 Plus, and we've had it for about 3 months now, so I want to get an idea, review of it up to see who it may be for, who it may not be for, kind of what it would cost overall if you're looking for a similar setup, because these things are expensive as you up your storage needs. So I'm not a NAS, a storage expert. I don't know anything about servers. I just know that currently we have a decent amount. We have a 2 terabyte SSD in here, which has a ton of stuff on it, and we pay about $40 a month for cloud storage. When we add in our Adobe Premiere, iCloud, Photo, and Google Photo, I pay for that. My wife pays for the iCloud storage solution. So we have about $40 wrapped up monthly. So we wanted something that was a little bit more long-term solution that we would be able to do our photos and videos on and keep them safe, secure, without having to worry about losing them. We have a 1-year-old, so we have a ton of photos, and if you've noticed, the more photos you have with how large sensors are getting now, 50, 60, 40 megapixels, they're just very large files, especially if you keep the RAWs also. So we needed a lot of storage, and we wanted something we didn't have to pay monthly on. So we got this. And this runs about $500 for the 4-bay. This is a 4-bay NAS. It does have some spots for some SATA drives, or not SATA drives, some cache SSD drives. So it runs about $500. It almost never goes on sale. And sometimes it's actually hard to find. I ordered it and it took a couple weeks to come in because it was on back order. So we've had it for 3 months. We currently have 4 terabytes. I forget what they are. Seagate Iron Wolf NAS drives in here. Originally I was going to get WD Red drives because they were a little bit cheaper, but you do have to check compatibility. That's one thing that I would make sure that you do, is check compatibility, and a lot of those were not listed on the site as being compatible. So make sure you do that. And each of those were about $95 a piece, and we have, I'm trying to figure out where it's at. I think you actually have to, it's down here at the bottom. So we actually have one Samsung 970 Evo Plus as a cache drive. So we have about $950 wrapped up in this thing, which may sound insane, but we have 10.6 terabytes of storage. So I have a RAID 5 going in here with the 4 terabytes, which is about 16, but you have to cut some of that in half when you set up a RAID 5. That part I know. So we have 10.6 gigabytes of storage. And actual installation process of this was easy. Installing everything, Synology's paperwork they gave us with this was actually really easy to go through and get things all set up and running. Actually setting everything up with setting up your storage solutions and all your different drives and all that took some time. So I actually had to sit down. It probably took 4 or 5 hours because I know nothing about this stuff. But the Synology, they have a PDF basically you can look at and walks you through how to set up all your stuff. Finally got everything set up. I have it mapped to this computer, my laptop, and my wife's. She's got a MacBook, so 2 Windows and 1 MacBook. And we have it all mapped up, but it did take about 4 or 5 hours to get everything set up. The drive to actually populate and create their RAID took 12 to 15 hours. It took a little while overnight. But I would invest, and if you don't know anything about NASs or setting them up, I would make sure that you invest some time in to be able to do that, because it did take a little bit to actually set it up. But the overall build quality of this seems really, really good. It seems solid. It's very heavy, especially when you get the drives in it. And you have your power switch, USB, you have your little LED light indicators there, and 2 Ethernet ports, and then another USB. They're all USB-A. I believe they're 3.0, but it would be nice to see USB-C on these, or at least one USB-C, just because it is 2021. That would be my only negative about just the general outside of it. And you got 2 cache drives, which are really nice. Basically will speed up your read and write speeds, or at least from what I've read. You can get a M.2 or standard NVMe SSD for almost nothing, so I just got the cheapest one I could get. I think it's 256 256 gigabytes, so that should help with the speeds on it. So speaking of that, transferring stuff to and from this is actually pretty good. The speeds they're not NVMe type speeds if you're transferring from one NVMe to the other, or if you're doing like an XQD card to your computer. They're not quite that fast, but they are pretty fast, pretty reliable. So I've been happy with that. You do have your power cable back here. You have what their little proprietary one is. I don't really like that, but it's just your DC 12 volt in power. And you do have two fans here on the back that are actually fairly quiet. I do not notice these fans all that much. The thing I notice the most is the hard drive. So they do, when you're writing to and from them, they are pretty loud. That's probably the only thing that I ran into, is that I thought they were pretty loud. There is some actual kind of some rubber in there to help kind of isolate these and try to keep them a little bit quieter, but they are pretty loud. It is really loud when it starts up and turns off. So if you turn it off, I usually leave it on all the time, but if you turn it off, it is very, very loud. It makes a loud beeping sound. It takes a little while to start up if you have it turned off completely, but I usually keep it running all the time. And with the actual software, the Synology software, you can actually set it up to where it actually goes into sleep mode at certain times of the day, or if it's not in use. There's all kinds of customizations you can do, way more than you're probably going to need down the line. Cooling seems good. The hard drives do not seem to get super warm. They ramped up a little bit in temperature when I transferred everything over there, so I literally took almost 1.5 terabytes of stuff and transferred it all at once. So it would be on here, safe, secure. So I did that, and they did get a little warm, but there's actually software that you can actually, browser-based software, once you get logged in and everything, you can actually get it set up and check the temperature on everything. The one negative that I found is that I feel like I created like 3 or 4 passwords for different logins. There's all kinds of different logins for this. So I try to keep them all the same, just because I was trying to make them as secure as possible and as not as common as possible, some of my other ones. So I did do that. I have no idea how to reset them if you forget your password, so it's wrote down and stored somewhere. But overall, I've been very, very happy with it. It's so nice having storage that you own, you're not paying monthly on it. Granted, if our place burns down, I don't know if we'll be able to keep that. It may actually have some software built into where it creates some type of backup to that. But overall, that's my only probably negative there, is if it catches on fire. Or if you're writing to it and the power goes out. I do not have a USB for this, but I probably should. That'll be probably something I get down the line. But overall, I think it's a very, very solid investment. If you don't need this much storage, or you're okay with maybe like a RAID 1 or 2 or 0 or 1, whatever the one is where you only have 2 drives, you could cheap out and get a 2-bay NAS and do that. But I would highly recommend getting a RAID 5 and getting 4 bays if you can, just because I don't think the cost is that much more expensive, and I think the benefit of it for longevity is way higher. So you could take these drives out, put more higher capacity ones in, and if you do a RAID 5, you're really only deleting one of the drives. So if you're doing a RAID where they're just copying from one to the other 2 drives, and you have 2 8 terabytes, you're only going to get 8 terabytes of storage. Where if you have 4 6 terabytes of storage, or 4 terabytes of storage, you're going to have more than that. And you'll notice when hard drives prices, the more you go up in storage, so 6 terabytes, 8 terabytes, 10 terabytes, the price is a big jump. So I try to stick with 4 terabyte hard drives, just because that's usually where the price point is the best at, and they tend to go on sale from time to time. That's it. Overall, really happy with it. Once you get it set up, it's pretty easy to run and operate. There's almost no maintenance of these things, so that's something that I really like. You do notice that you get marks here. I did have this plant sitting on here, and there's these little teeny tiny feet marks on there. But besides that, no issues at all to report. If you have any comments, questions, leave them below. I would highly recommend any of the Synology stuff. I found that their software and their overall paperwork they provided to set this up was really good, really clean. It walks you through the steps fairly easily. They have some videos you can watch also, which I thought were really good. So that would be my big plus there. There's 3 or 4 other brands out there you could go with, but Synology is a well-known brand. I do not know how their customer service is because I've had any issues with it, so we'll see how that goes down the line. But that's it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, this helped the channel out a little bit. I'll put the links below for most of the stuff if you want to buy exactly the setup I have, which I would recommend. I've had really good luck with it. It's lovely having 10 terabytes of storage right there. Have a good rest of the day, weekend, whatever it is. Stay warm out there. It's freezing here. We just got a bunch of snow for April in Ohio, which is pretty rare. So enjoy everything. Have a good time, and I will see you guys next time.